Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Have a crazy one for you today. We're going to learn how to play Main Street off of Van Halen's Fair Warning album. This one, I did a Van Halen track last week, and literally 50 comments in a row like, do Main Street. So you convinced me, so I'm going to jump on board with this thing. A crazy intro, which is what most people want to get into, but the rest of the song is a lot of fun to play too, so we're going to cover the whole dang thing. But before I do, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell if you so you can actually know when I release a video. And check out my Guitar Academy, please. The link is in the description. It's at GuitarLessons365.com. It's a GL365 Academy. It's got all my guitar courses covering a bunch of different stuff. So come over and join our great community we got going over there. All right, so first things first, we are in E-flat tuning here. So as a lot of Van Halen stuff, every string tuned down a half step. And then we have this very interesting kind of he's emulating like a slap bass guitar is what he's trying to go for here. So this little percussive intro that we have. There is a pattern. It sounds like chaos, but there's a pattern to it, and it's kind of as soon as you lock into it, you can start getting it up to speed. So let me just show you this pattern. What's going first? Well, first, let me just say, whenever you're doing anything with your index finger, you're tapping the B and the E string at the 12th fret together. So like a double stop tap. So you're tapping on those two strings, and then you have this harmonic at the 12th fret on the low E that you're hitting. So you have that, and then with your thumb, you're going to hit that harmonic. Now, the best thing to do is to kind of use sort of like the middle of your thumb where the knuckle's at, so you can just kind of pop the string with the, like that. Now, in between those, we have kind of muted hits down here in the left hand. All right, so now we can get into the actual pattern. So we have this going on the left hand, and this, or this, in the right hand. So the pattern here, not that hard to understand. We have, it's basically 4 beats of 16th notes. So it's going to be 16 hits here. But the reason, what's kind of weird is we're kind of repeating some of the patterns, but they happen on different parts of the beat. So first is pretty easy to do. We do the tap with the index, then with the left hand, then the harmonic, then the tap with the left hand again. I'll mute with the left hand. So we have this. Okay? So just practice that for a second. All right, now the way you want to think of it without having to count and figure out where you're at within the beat at all times, we're going to do that exact same pattern again, except when you get to the thumb hit, you're going to do 2 hits instead of 1. So we had this for the first one, and the second one, you're going to now do that same pattern again, but with 2 thumb hits. Everything else stays the same. So you're still hitting the mute in the left hand, 2 hits, and the mute in the left hand. Make sure you're not doing what I just did. You don't want to be hitting the strings like that. Percussive sounds are what you want out of it. All right? So now we've basically done the pattern twice. And now we go back to doing the pattern with just one hit on the harmonic with the thumb. So then we're back to this. So far we have this. 1, 1, 2, 1. All right? Now, the fourth time through, what we're going to do is we're going to hit the thumb twice again, but we're not going to do anything in the left hand. We're just going to hit the double stops, and then those 2 hits with the thumb again. So all that together equals 16 hits. So 4 groups of 16th notes. So we have this all together. Then you start right over. So that last little bit's kind of the most difficult because you gotta, and then start straight back over with the. All right, so. When you see him play this live, sometimes it's more muted than it is or less muted than it is on the album. So the way I think about it is I really lock in with what's going on with that thumb. I think of that 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. And everything else kind of falls in place around it. All right, so this is kind of this little, kind of a slap thing he's got going. From there, after you do that a little bit, we jump into the tapping across the strings. And this is the same thing pretty much repeated 3 times. So it looks like this. All right, so now I'm going to break that. We basically repeat that 3 times and add a little ending to it. But I'm going to break that down into 2 sections. All right, so the first one is you're going to be tapping at the 12th fret and then hammering on the 5th fret. So it's on a low E tap and then hammer on the 5th fret of the low E string. Then what you're going to do is tap the A string of the 12th fret twice. So whenever you are tapping at the A string 12th fret, you're always going to hit it twice. And then hammer on that at the 5th fret. That string, so we have this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to tap the 12th fret on the D string, the harmonic. So these are tapped harmonics. So you got to be right on top of the fret here. Hammer on to that 5th fret there. And when you hammer on the 5th fret on the D string, you're going to tap the 12th fret again, which is going to create a different harmonic. So we have this. From there, you're going to pull off to the open string, hammer on 7, pull off to the open. So we have this. So now I will say when he's doing this the first half, he likes to do these hammer-ons with his ring finger. But he also doesn't, live he doesn't really jump up here and do the 7th fret one, which is on the album. So he kind of hangs out here, and then the second half, when we're going to second, he moves up here. So might as well do it all here because we're going to do that like the album recorded version. So we have this. So after that tap, pull off, and then hammer 7 and pull off. And then we're going to end this first half with just 2 tapped harmonics at the 12th fret on the low E. So we have this all together for the first half of the lick. All right? So now, just practice that a little bit and think of that as just his own thing. Now we're going to start the next one. It's going to be very similar at the beginning, the second half of the lick. We have this. So we made it all the way to where we did that different harmonic tap where we're holding the 5th fret and then we're tapping that 12. So that's all the same all the way up to that. But here, he does something different. Now, instead of pulling off, doing that, after you do this harmonic, you're gonna tap the 9th fret, and then tap 5 frets above that at the 14th fret. Right over the fret. So we have this. And then we have this note here, the 5th fret there on the G string. And then over to the 7th fret on the D. Now you can get this note any of a couple of ways. The way that I suspect by watching him live, I suspect he's doing it. It's just kind of weird deceiving live, because live you can hear that note, but you can't really see him playing it. It's just kind of odd. But we have this. After you do this harmonic here, you can hammer on that 5th fret there on the G, then go over the 7th fret on the D, hammer on there, or when you do this harmonic here, you can, it looks like he might be doing this instead. He actually, when he leaves that string, it plays the 5th fret there. So he's almost like picking the G string with that, his pinky when it's leaving that, like that. So either way, probably more comfortable to hammer it. Then you hammer on the 7, and then you're going to end the lick with that harmonic. All right, you're holding the 7th on the D. You're going to tap that harmonic at the 12th fret, then the 11th. So we have this. All right, so we have this. So that's the second half of the lick. So then we go back, so we put the first half and the second half together. Basically repeat that again. Now the third time here, we do it the exact same way all the way up to where except these harmonics here, the 12, 11 harmonics are kind of extended. This is, so that after the third time through, you're going to play the harmonics a little bit more. And we have this little ending that's added to it. All right, so I'm holding that 7th fret harmonic and just tapping the 12, then the 11, and then the 10, and then back to 11, and then back to 12. Then what you do is you quickly pull off to the open D, and then hammer on the 7th fret real quick on the A string, and then you can do a series of harmonics up that string, tapping the 10th fret, then 11, then the 12th fret twice, and then 14. And we're going to end this outro section by, you're going to hammer on the two 5s here. So you just hammer the G string and the B string at the 5th fret together with your index finger. And then the 7th fret there on the G and the B. And then when you get to the 7th fret, you're going to start tapping 12 frets up. So at the 19th fret here, you're going to use your index finger again to tap across the G and the B on the over the fret. So you can get a tap harmonic 12 frets higher. Pull off the 5, then tap there at 17 to match the 5 an octave up. Then hammer back on. Tap to 17, pull off, tap 15, hammer 17. So you're just basically going back and forth between them. And then you tap that last 17, and then after you put that last 17, pull off to the 5s, hammer back on to 7, and pull off to 5, and slide it down to 4, and then we have a bunch of feedback that kind of takes over. Hold it. Well, it kind of does a little bar dive there. So it is a unique intro of very kind of difficult to get it to sound exactly like he does. Anyway, that's what you want to shoot for. So hopefully breaking all those things down into the patterns that they are will make you help you understand it a little bit better. All right, so let's get into some regular guitar playing here. Now we have the opening riff, which sounds like this. All right, so that's the little opening riff. It's the only time it happens in the song. There's a little phaser there at the end when I do those muted strums, which I don't have on this preset, so you're not going to hear it. So we're going to start here with this double stop to the 5th fret on the D and the G. And then over to the 7th fret a few times, kind of a muted. Give it kind of a staccato feel. So releasing the pressure of the note right after you hit it. So a couple of those 7s on the D string. Then we have this, which is the 5th fret on the D, 5th fret on the G. Back to those the 7s a couple times on the D. So and then what we do after that, go over to the 7th fret, kind of muted, 7th fret on the A, to the 5th fret on the D, and then pull off 7 to 5 on the D. And now we kind of start the riff over again. But we just do this. There's 2 double stops, and then the 7th fret on the D a couple times. Then we hit the 7th fret there on the D, the A string, sorry. And then the open D and the G together. So this. We kind of start the riff over again. Except here, instead of going at the end, we do this. We play that 7 to the 5 on the D, and then we go into a series of harmonics. All right, so those harmonics, so we have this. So those harmonics are going to be starting at the 5th fret on the D, then the B, and then the G. Then the 7th fret on the D to G. And then the 12th fret, D, B, G. Pretty cool stuff. Then we're back to the same riff. Now this 3rd time through, after you do that, we get back to the double stops, couple on the 7, then we have this, which is just this, starting on the D string, over to the G 5th fret. Starting now, we just kind of pick across as 7, 7 a couple times on the D, heavily muted, and then a few times there at the 5th fret on the D, and then a few times on the 7th fret of the A. So it. All right, and then the last time through. So that's the same riff. Kind of hold that right there, and then mute the strings. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And that's this part is when that phaser comes in. And then you just end the part right there with the double stops again across the 5th fret of the D and the G. So all together for that intro. All right, then we get to the verse. All right, so this first verse is a little bit different, just a slight difference than the rest of them. So it sounds like this. the chorus. I like that chorus. The chorus has a really cool feel to it. So does the verse. So this verse is. So that's kind of pulling off from the third fret of the A string to the open string. And once again, he's doing this, giving a very staccato feel. So we pull off 3 to 0, hit the A again, then over real quick to the third fret on the low E string, and then back. So we have this. So we have this, pull off, 3 on the low E, and then the open A again, open E real quick, and then a little slight harmonic with a really big vibrato on the third fret of the low E string. So we have this. And then that's the first half, and then we have this. So that's kind of the same riff. Except after that second pull off, we just go to play 3 a few times on the low E, like 5 times, then the open E. So we have this. Now when you repeat this second time, instead of doing this, holding that, we go. So it looks like this. So, oh, sorry. So that's the same riff. Actually, yeah, so it's just from that low E into the open D and the G. It's kind of hard to stay with this when you're playing it like kind of so slow and breaking it down. So it is. So that's in place of that, and then the ending is the same as before. So that's that right there. When he hit those little open D and G together, that's the only time in the song he does that. The rest of the time, the verse is just. It's got a really cool groove. All right, now the chorus, real fun to play. It looks like this. All right, so we're gonna start that with a pull off from the, got a slight bend on that third fret too, the A string. Pull off to the A string. Then some muted on the A string here. Up to that, a double stop here at the 5th fret of the D and the G. So we have. And then, so after this, we go back here. And it's kind of a pinch harmonic with a quick hammer on from 3 to 5 on the A. And a lot of vibrato there. And then pull off 3 to 0 again. So we have this. Some more on the A here. Then move that now to the 5th fret, the 7th fret double stops on the D and the G. So this. Now, coming back here, we have a little bit more here. We pull off first 3 to 0, and then do the hammer on 3 to 5. And then back to the 3-0 pull. So we have. Then you grab the double stops here at the 10th fret there on the D and the G. And then play the full power chords off the 8th fret of the A string to 10. And then back to the 3-0 power chord. Now he could be playing this up here or here. That's just I saw a quick look at him when he's playing live, and it looked like he grabbed the last one down here. So we have this. And start over. And after you get to the 7th fret double stops, then it's when the chorus ends. It's pretty short. To the A power chord, D, and then this E power chord up here. All right, and then that takes us back to the verse. Now the verse, like I said, this when it goes to the verse the second time, it just doesn't have that little G, open G and D hit in it. It's just. So nothing new there. Just kind of repeat it like that with that on there. And then the chorus is slightly different. There's a few harmonics thrown in there. It looks like this. This is the second chorus here. All right, so that's same chorus, except when we get to this last one, instead of doing this, we do this. Which those harmonics there are the 7th fret of the A to the 7th fret of the D, and then the 12th fret of the D string to the G. All right, and now we have this little bridge section, which looks like this. All right, so it kind of moves around pretty quick. So this opening sounds, now when I see him play it live, he kind of always does it up high. It doesn't really sound like that in the recording. The first one is like that. It sounds like just, there is phaser on this as well too, so I don't have a phaser on it, so that could be part of the deceiving sound of it. But let's do it this way. We're just going to start with this octave here. So we have this 5th fret on the D and 8th fret on the B string. So you pick those octaves, slide up to 7. And then we have the riff how it's going to happen for the rest of the. So kind of slide into play those 9 on the G, 10 on the B, to the double stops here at the more double stops to the 7th fret on the G and the B together. And then now we have 7/5 on the G, then the D. So we have this. All right, now we're gonna. So after you did. So okay, I'm just getting lost here. So we have this. After that, those from the 2 7/5s hit the open A string twice. So we have this. Now we go back to this chord. So the first time is going to be a little bit different. We're going to play the 7th fret on the G, 8th fret on the B, 10th fret on the high E. So play those, slide up 2 frets, and then real quickly play the 11th fret there on the G. Play that note by itself, only the first time through. And then we have this, which is just going to play the 11th fret on the G, 12th fret on the B, hit them, slide up 1 fret, then the open a D string twice, and then do that again. Let's play this. So all together. All right, now from there, we're gonna start over, but instead of always just doing it with that octave, we're gonna start with this every time. So that shape we did, always do that now. And the rest is the same. Except that he doesn't play that one note by itself anymore. It just goes. So we have this. All right, then we get to these solos. So let me play through the solo for you real quick. It's a pretty short one. Then we'll take a look at it phrase by phrase. All right, so typical, just going for it, Eddie solo, just got some crazy stuff in it. So we're gonna start with a massive bend. So it's a 2.5 step bend. So it's got a sliding all the way up to that. With some pinch harmonics on it. And then you just pick a nice harmonic, release it, and then kind of do a slight bend again. So a bend and release. So, and then, so that's going to end that first phrase, which is 5th fret on the G, over to 7th on the D, then 7, 5 on the G, back to that 7 on the D. All right, so the next phrase looks like this. So that's going to start with a rake. So muting those strings and rake it into the 7th fret there on the high E string. Then play 10, 8, and then 7 again. And then we have this little. Now that's kind of a Eddie's signature thing there. He likes it kind of legato up, and then on the very last string, he'll pick the last 3 notes. All right, so kind of a Spanish fly lick. So that's sliding into the 9th fret on the G string. Then you're going to play the 8th fret on the B, hammer 10 and 12. And then you're going to play 8, 10, 12 on the high E, but you're going to pick those. So it is. And then we had this. So we had this. So we got. So that's going to be hammering 8 to 10, pull off to 8, slide down to 7, over to 10 on the B string, back to the 7th fret on the high E. And then pick 8 on the B, slide down to 7, and then back to the 8. So with this. All right, so the next phrase looks like this. All right, so that is sounds more difficult than it is. We're just gonna, you start at the 15th fret on the high E string, and then you're gonna basically pick pick the 15th fret there, and then you're gonna play. You got this 19, 17, 15 here. So you're gonna play that and pull off. You can whatever fingers you want to use. So pull that off twice. So like this. So slide down to 14, then hammer on 15, 17, pull back off to 15, 14. So we have this. Over to 17 on the B, back to that 14 on the high E, and then you're gonna pull off 17, 15, 14, and do kind of a little trill when you get down there. So we have this. And then you're gonna go up to the 18th fret real quick and slide real quick down to 17 again. And then we have this cool lick. So after you get here, we're gonna start this new lick. So okay, so let me just show you the notes first. We had the 14th fret on the B, and you're gonna play 17 on the G, bend and release, quick bend and release. Pull off to 14, and then over to 17 on the D. So the way I like to pick this is that picking each note, I'm kind of using my middle finger for the B string, and then I can just use downstrokes from there. And then the last one, you do the bend and release and pull off from the 14 all the way to the open G, and then you do a big bend and release at the 20th fret on the B string. And then we have some of this. So that's just kind of trilling between 17 and 20 on the B string with a lot of whammy bar going. And then a bend and release at the 19th fret on the G, pull off to 17, and then back to that 19. And then we're going to end the solo with this. So that's kind of hammer 15 to 16 on the B string. And then play 14 on the, so 15, 16 on the A string, then play 14 on the D and the G. Then you're going to pull off 17, 14 on the D. So it is. And then play 14 on the G and the B. And then pull off 17, 14 on the G. So it is. And then gonna get that C major triad there at the 17th fret there across the B, G, and the D to end it. All right, so that is it for the solo. Then we go through the verse and chorus, the same as before. And then we have this little breakdown section, which is just using some volume swells. So it's going to really kind of bring it down a little bit. So just roll the volume off and play that C major triad again here, the 5th fret across the D, G, and the B. Then roll the volume up, and then do it again, but now with the D major chord 2 frets higher. Then it goes into a really cool riff, which I just kind of call the muted A riff. It's kind of interesting because you have to play those. What you're going to be doing is doing the same C to D with this finger. So that's really cool. So he's not doing the muting with the picking hand. So we have that open A, and he keeps dropping his middle finger to mute that string. So it goes 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's 1, 2. And the last, after you do it like 2 times through, we have this. Make this little down up, and then it slides into the next chord into the same thing. So there is a little solo that overdubs over that. If you guys want to check that out, it's pretty quick. It's going to start with you're going to hear. It starts kind of fading out. So that kind of starts with just these double stops, the 5th fret on the B, and then the open high E with it. And then we're going to start with some unison bends. The 5th fret there on the B string, and you're going to be bending up the 7th fret on the G. And then up the 7th fret, same thing. Then 8, 10, 13. And then from there, we're going to bend it again at the 13, and then 15, 16, 17, and then grab the 20th fret there on the B, and then a little bend there, and then some more of that kind of trilling between 17 and 20 with a lot of whammy stops, and then kind of the same thing down here between 5 and 7 on the G. And then it starts kind of fading out where you can't hear anything anyway. All right, so that is all of Mean Street. Got a lot of stuff from just kind of slappy slap stuff to some really, really cool groove and rock riffs and just the crazy solo stuff. So I hope you enjoyed the in-depth breakdown of it. And I'll see you guys again soon for guitarlessons365.com.